Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out my channel. Tonight I'm gonna do some just a review on a couple of markets. No strong conviction for next week, so I'll probably be observing mainly, except for crude oil. That's got a little bit of a more clearer configuration and looking a little bit less topish comparing to the other commodities. So yeah, let's get started. So WTI, as I was mentioning, I think in previous videos, I believe that the scenario that of accumulation under that area of 67, 68 is still valid. So as you know, looking at the cap that would have been now completed, and now we could be potentially building up a small handle in that area with that trend line underneath. So we don't have major sign that could actually reverse. We're having that divergence on the 4 hours. That I believe is the one that will be pushing potentially the price down to retouch or retest that divergence. So 63, that's my new buy area. We're having a falling wedge that could actually squeeze down slightly below 64, could have an acceleration to the downside with a nice divergence hopefully to that level. So that will be the buy level. Accumulating from here is probably a little bit too high. We got some still solid rejection last week. When we move to the 1 hour, we can see quite obvious that that divergence we had here on the 1 hour got invalidated with that drop here that made a new low on the RSI. So potentially the sellers still having some strength. We've seen that large candle here, so the buyers are definitely here, but I think this is still not really value level to enter. If we look at the quote report, nothing concerning. We're having a strong open interest. Managed money continues to increase net long, and we can see that retail traders are also pushing against a long, and edgers are edging against higher price. So everything is pointing to a potential breakout that could be a major move onto the upside. Should we actually complete that figure on the 4 hours? We are looking for a target at 75. Should we actually break that level? So that's definitely a very interesting area of accumulation for me. Would like to see, of course, some better signal here. Buying, because you could still go for a double bottom somewhere below 60, but yeah, the first scenario I think will be 63 to be a solid support. Looking at natural gas, so natural gas is also in some sort of a configuration that could be a continuation pattern, slightly different than WTI. We have that major trend line. I think if we push that on a weekly, it's a bit more obvious. So from that top we had at 4.70, then we got another touch at 3.28, and more recently just a rejection at 3.28 again. So the configuration is not extremely clean. It might not happen that way. We could also fail to actually break higher and fail on 3 and just reverse from here, but we cannot exclude a potential breakout of that level with some sort of a double bottom configuration. If we look at the quote report, nothing pointing to a potential reversal with strong open interest during the holding period. We still with the swap dealers, they're actually edging against lower price, so that's slightly bearish, but the managed money, they are still adding long position quite significantly, yeah, there's really nothing pointing for a major reversal to come now. If we look in terms of potentially loss of momentum, we got the daily trend line that's pointing here, but the momentum is still very strong on the daily to the upside. That is favoring some more of a bull flag formation rather than some rising wedge that could actually break. And here we can see on the 4 hours we got some momentum increasing. Let's see, get that here. Yep, very red. Just here we got break on the 4 hours, but also on the shorter time frame here. It's pretty much the same. We got a break higher on the 1 hour. Both got actually momentum breaking higher the trend line. So that's pointing to, instead of some exhaustion, some strength in terms of the buyer. So we're definitely interested to see what will happen, but for now, unlikely to trade natural gas. Risky, of course, trying to catch that breakout. Should we actually break 3? Of course, 3.10 is over there, but the time of the year is not favorable usually yet for natural gas, so be really careful to enter long here, but instead still looking at a bit of a safer short entry to trade rejection at 310. Looking at gold, has been breaking quite significantly and neatly the 1770 level. That's relatively bullish, but we are still inside that move to the downside until we actually break above neatly, I would say 1900 to be safe, but technically we need even to actually reach above 2000 to see the momentum to start moving again to the upside. No major trade, I think. An attempt to short that 1860 could be possible. We don't have major signs as momentum still powerful, but we might see some sign of exhaustion at that level as major resistance, and that could be interesting to trade. At worst, some pullback down to 1750 and potentially continuation to the downside, but for now it looks relatively bullish and no major reversal in sight. Looking at copper as well, has been another really strong market, breaking I think was an all-time high 462, so now we actually closed the week at 475, really powerful. But as we can see here on the daily, the momentum is struggling still to push much higher, so we still need to see the momentum either to start pulling back on 460, then we could have a chance to actually take some breath and then push back higher later, but this is definitely a little bit overbought. We look at the weekly now, I think the RSI is standing at 83, so I think it will be difficult to actually move to the upside without having some sort of a correction, or at least a range bound price move to actually cool off indicators, but no sign of reversal. It looks still very strong, but of course at that price, very risky to buy, as you can get easily caught here with a high price without any more move to the upside. So yeah, also watching copper potentially for short opportunity, and of course the levels there, as we're talking to 4.30, there will be a buy entry without end up. Bitcoin, to finish that video, I'm still standing to my view that we reversed on that market, but that's a very slow reversal, which is potentially even more concerning because we're kind of building down. As we can see here on the daily, the momentum is really struggling to even return and touch the trend line on here, so we don't have clear divergence there, so no sell signal. We could still push higher and attempt to make a double top at 65k, but I think that move is probably over, and I'll be looking at buying dips for some pullback trades, but only much lower levels when we actually get a clean signal, especially on the 4 hours. That's working relatively well. As we can see here, we now having that divergence well in place here, and that could actually trigger some retest of 53. So potentially we could have some range bound trade to put something that would actually attempt to retest 53, then another move to the upside, reattempting 59. That's about 10% range, which is not so much for Bitcoin. So depends, could be interesting to buy that level, but of course the more interesting level is 50k, but the very extremely interesting level to me is still around that 40k, where we should have a proper opportunity alongside that trend line, as we can see here, somewhere there. So I don't actually know if the momentum is good enough. I think it would struggle to break lower than 48. Could be of course a buy opportunity here, but of course at 40k that will be even more interesting. Just out of curiosity, I think the wedge got broken. If we just take that as an indication, yes, more looking at 40k as a target for Bitcoin, and that is kind of a safe entry for a long position with the right signal, of course. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching that video. I'm trying to make another check midweek. If I don't, then I will look again over the next weekend at some commodities and maybe having some clearer plans. So it's going to be probably a watching week. Potentially small trade on WTI, but unlikely to see anything really major until we get some more serious correction on the market. Thanks for watching, and I speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.